When grief becomes inheritance, frozen eggs granted custody of baby born after loss unfolds a family's secret legacy. When my wife stopped speaking to her mother 3 years ago, it wasn't a split, it was a shove. Her parents remained married, but every call to her dad brought more tension. Mom goes into a deep, angry funk, he warned, so they drifted apart. As silence took root, Christmas rolled around, and my wife reached out to her uncle, asking if he and his wife were home for the holidays. They planned to send something perishable. But instead of joy, she got rage, a furious text from her uncle accusing her of cruelty toward her mother, laying guilt on her that she didn't deserve. For nearly a year, that was the last connection. Then, in November 2023, the phone rang. Her brother told her their cousin had been in a devastating car crash. The prognosis, grim. We rushed to the hospital. My wife spent hours holding her cousin's hand, whispered farewells at her bedside, and was there when her cousin passed in a coma. Her aunt and uncle were quiet, almost cordial, for that one day. No mention of the past, no accusations. Just grief. But after that funeral, even the shadow of a text faded away. Every message my wife sent went unanswered. She accepted it, their families would take different paths now. Then, last week, her brother called again, this time with news of a postmarked letter on kitchen table. It was from the aunt and uncle. The contents? It demanded silence about what they'd done next. They'd tracked down a lawyer. Officially gained legal custody of the cousin's frozen eggs. Found a sperm donor. Booked a surrogate. And circled a date, August 28, 2025, a scheduled C-section. In a few months, at nearly 70 years old, these grieving relatives will become parents, raising a child born from their daughter's eggs. A grandchild, yet not truly theirs. A baby beginning life almost 2 years after the mother's death. We were stunned. My first thought was of that child, already orphaned at birth, then raised by people born long enough ago to have stories of their own passing before the child graduates high school. A cascade of grief ahead for everyone involved. And yet, there they stand, resolute. Bringing new life from silence. Is it hope, or hubris? Is it love or legacy? I can't reconcile how anyone decides consciously to do this. And I can't help but wonder, in their twilight years, what will this child whisper when they ask, "Who am I, really?" The letter arrived in early June, plain white envelope, official stationery, bold professional font. Not the familiar script of her aunt at all, but the unmistakable stamp of a law office, estate and family law group. It conveyed facts like bullet points. Custody granted on April 15, 2025, by an unnamed probate court. A sperm donor sourced through an anonymous fertility agency, with a physical resemblance requested to honor the cousin's heritage. A gestational surrogate engaged, due by August 28, 2025. A legal confidentiality clause, forbidding discussion of the arrangement with anyone, even close family. My wife reread it 5 times, each line clarifying what had been decided in shadows, without her knowledge. That evening, we sat at the kitchen table under low light, surrounded by the weight of loss and this impossible vision of the future. We replayed the timeline. 3 years ago, final words with her mother. November 2023, her cousin's passing. April 2025, aunt and uncle secure custody of the eggs. August 2025, due date for a child conceived posthumously. This letter changed the past 3 years' meaning in a single swoop. We did some digging. Turns out, in states where posthumous conception is allowed, if clear written consent exists, as it does here, her cousin explicitly wanted her eggs destroyed. Otherwise, a court can still authorize use at the request of next of kin. The aunt and uncle presented affidavits claiming their daughter's dreams of motherhood were never extinguished, which the court apparently accepted. My wife's reaction swung between fury and heartbreak. On one hand, this was her cousin's autonomy, violated. On the other, here were her aunt and uncle, rebranding grief into accomplishment. No invitation to closure, no acknowledgement of separation, just forward motion, on their terms. We imagined their future life with a child born in late August. 2 elderly grandparents becoming first-time parents overnight. A toddler with a mother born in 2000 to 2002, never meeting her. Birthdays synced with anniversaries, the child forever caught in memorial calendars. A house adapting to a nursery, not for a new generation, but for a last one. How will they manage school drop-offs, weekend energy during shul years, college tours in their 80s? Will there even be savings, plans for inheritance? Or is this an emotional project, not a practical one? Worse yet, the no-talk clause. If my wife mentions this to anyone, her dad, her brother for instance, The aunt and uncle can seek legal recourse. Theirs is not just a secret, it's sealed by force. Even sharing our experience at family gatherings risked contempt charges. My wife sat with that clause for hours, feeling her past erased, eroded by legal power. Everything she couldn't say, and couldn't prevent, felt like fuel, but also fire she couldn't escape. Her brother plans to reply, quietly, to demand more information. Any oversight here could open legal loopholes. Her dad's in despair, not for the cousin now eternally out of conversation, but for the child who risks being parented at 70. And for us? We're left waiting for August. Wondering if we'll be gathered at a hospital, out of lawful bounds, heart trembling between concern, grief, and wonder. Because at the heart of all of this is a question that won't rest. By mid-June, the letter's contents lived in every quiet moment. 6:30 a.m., sunrise. My wife sat in their still sleeping bedroom, the envelope on her lap like a stone. She pressed her fingers to the seal in her mind, shredded, gone. 7 a.m., coffee brewed. Her dad called, voice breaking. He'd spent the night Googling state statutes around posthumous reproduction, found jargon about consent, inheritance, parental status. Terms like estate, next of kin authority, embryo disposition looping endlessly. Across two addresses, a small suburban house where her dad lived alone, and our cozy condo, this story twisted into everyday moments. Walking the dog with her dad, he'd pause, grip the leash tight as if grounding himself. Imagine me doing bedtime, they'll see me as grandpa and dad both. I already feel old. Grocery shopping together, bright baby clothes caught their eyes. He'd step away hurriedly, shaking his head. It's not right. Meanwhile, our evenings filled with hushed debates. Should my wife engage the aunt and uncle? Challenge legality? Or would silence just confirm their power? Do we need a lawyer of our own to review that confidentiality clause? It wasn't a family letter, it was a court-armed broadsheet. Could it even stand up in someone else's hand, in another courtroom? The aunt and uncle, legally parents-to-be, were at once everywhere and nowhere. They'd closed their door after the hospital trip, and as the no-talk clause stifled them, they became specters, present by court order, absent in family communication. The cousin's memory lived in small things: a shelf with photos of her at 13, curling her hair, a scarf she'd sewn, a book of nursery rhymes. We hovered over those relics, grappling with whether this was memory or memorial, heritage or monument. We researched the hospital where the surrogate would deliver. State-level policies meant that only one visitor under 70 could be allowed at bedside. Could the aunt and uncle bring both their own parents as a support team? Or would it just be them, and a lawyer, possibly? Plans for the delivery room: would my wife or her father stand by, or even be allowed? The situation was so unprecedented that policies were vague. Post-birth, a temporary nursery near the hospital for the first month, then at the aunt and uncle's house. A crib already arrived, emails between them and the fertility clinic leaked, showing house photos and nursery decor sent for advice, pastel grays and whites, gender neutral, with photos of the cousin stitched into quilt patches. Neighbors knew something was happening. The clinic receptionist saw one of the aunt's emails. She confided to another patient, "They are due August 28th, can you believe it? In their 70s, that's news." Soon, the receptionist saw messages light up on a mom's group chat. At the grocery store checkout, "Is it true?" A woman asked my wife's dad, "That your grandparents-to-be from this?" He'd only nodded, jaw clenched. In the quiet of our condo, my wife sketched two timelines side by side. The life she never knew with her cousin, boyhood memories in ink, shared secrets, teenage trips, laughter now silenced. The life to come for this child, born without a mother, needing love from people whose age could run out mid-childhood. She asked herself, what does the child mean to them? Is this love, or is it legacy? What if something happens, if the aunt falls ill shortly after? Who steps in next, her dad? Me? A cousin thousands of miles away? Would we speak truth to the child? Your mother didn't meet you, or hide behind legal boundaries? On the final page of this chapter, we find ourselves at a crossroads. Her dad booked a consult with a probate lawyer, anonymously, to explore if they could reclaim any rights to be involved in the child's life. My wife prepared to write, but not send, a letter to her aunt and uncle. Not a challenge, but an invitation, to share medical, emotional, family history, to open a dialogue for a child who may one day want the full story. I weighed support, whether by presence at the birth, legal backup, or emotional scaffolding for a child already born into loss. This chapter doesn't end, because nothing here does. It pauses on choices. Silence or conversation? Secret or story? Legacy or living? The world is arriving swiftly on August 28th, two lives converging in a moment neither asked for, and no map fits this terrain. And so, we chart it, step by heavy step, in hope there is grace beyond grief. A gray dawn filters through sheer curtains into the modest suburban home where the aunt sits, legal documents spread before her on the small wooden table. Her hands tremble slightly as she reviews each line: custody granted, gestational surrogate, confidentiality clause. Her husband stands guard at the doorway, clipboard in hand, eyes betraying pride and exhaustion. She glances over at an unopened box of prenatal vitamins, proof that they are preparing, physically and mentally. He clears his throat, pointing at the final notice: if any breach occurs, legal consequences will follow. His voice cracks. Are we truly ready for this? He whispers. Tears fill her eyes. I just want to complete her dream, she says, voice soft but resolute. In that moment, they are suspended between grief and purpose, a couple nearing 70, poised to raise a child born from loss, driven by love and duty tangled with dread. Over the next 2 months, the aunt and uncle transform their home and routines. They assemble a nursery in the study, painting the walls in gentle grays and creams. A white crib arrives, its sides etched with soft cloud patterns. They place their daughter's framed portrait on a shelf, beside books chosen carefully: Goodnight Moon, The Very Hungry Caterpillar. They organize a rota with neighbors: meal shifts, dog walking, emergency contacts. The uncle installs motion sensor night lights down the hallway. They talk through their daily schedule: morning prenatal appointments, babysitting circles with a local volunteer group, quiet evenings discussing baby names that blend both families. At their dining table, they pore over ultrasound scans, marking each week's progress. On one evening, the aunt whispers, "We'll tell the child the whole story, one day." The uncle nods, unsure, but determined. English. My wife sits at our kitchen island, pen hovering above crisp stationery. She writes slowly. To my dear cousins, I'm writing not to contest your decision, but to offer a bridge. I want the child to know her heritage, our ancestors, our family stories, and the love her aunt and uncle poured into her becoming. Her heart pounds. She folds the letter and places it in an envelope addressed to them, unopened. It's symbolic, an invitation extended into silence. Late at night, she rereads the aunt and uncle's ultrasound email, every detail: measurements, gender-neutral color swatches, baby name ideas. She scrolls back to their email signature, sharp letterhead and disclosure. She exhales. English. Her father visits our condo at 8 a.m., cradling a wooden toy rabbit he bought. He says, I want to hold that child, if I can. I want her to know her grandfather came, even though he's old. He smiles sadly but wipes tears. He outlines his plan: save for college, set milestones for travel once he's gone, record bedtime stories in his voice. Yet, fear shadows every word. What if I pass before she's 10? He asks. English. By late August, the world hums in expectation. A flyer circulates quietly at the obstetric clinic, due August 28th, surrogate, 70-yo aunt and uncle. Nurses whisper. My wife's brother approaches her quietly. Are we going to the hospital? Even if not invited? We stand at the threshold of action, pour our presence at the birth or respect boundaries? In the fog of uncertainty, everyone braces, for joy, for heartbreak, for a life launched in extraordinary circumstances. The early morning of August 28, 2025 unfolds in hush and anticipation. The aunt and uncle drive slowly along quiet streets, hands gripping each other's fingers as dawn rises. Their rented minivan pulls into the hospital parking lot. They share a nod and step inside, hearts heavy with hope and fear. Behind them, the surrogate navigates each contraction with steady breaths, knowing their eyes are fixed on a life not biologically theirs to carry. In room 5B, fluorescent lights hum above. The aunt and uncle stand silently beside the surrogate's bed. Medical staff move in choreographed calm, monitoring vitals, adjusting IVs. The aunt places a hand over her heart, eyes closed, mouthing silent prayers. The uncle grips her other hand, voice hoarse. You are doing the bravest thing. At 7:42 a.m. A first cry, louder than any expectation. The baby's hair is dark and thick. The aunt inhales sharply, tears fill her eyes. The uncle strokes the baby's foot. The world feels both complete and impossibly fragile. Within an hour, the fertility clinic representative delivers official paperwork. The court order granting the aunt and uncle legal parentage, birth certificate forms, a guardian affidavit for inheritance rights. They sign, hands shaking. The aunt writes the baby's name, something honoring the cousin's favorite poet. The uncle signs as father. They request mother, anonymous gestational carrier. They pause. Neither smiles. It's legal. It's final. But without a personal acknowledgement to the child about who they are, their true story is at risk of hiding behind bureaucracy. My wife and her father enter quietly, wearing plain clothes. They aren't invited, or so they believe, but when nurses spot them, the aunt spots them, eyes filling with stupefaction. You came. They don't speak. The aunt nods, a gesture more emotional than any word. The aunt holds out the sleeping baby. My wife crouches, and her father stands behind her, placing a hand gently on her back. They say nothing, but their presence speaks volumes: grief, defiance, compassion. In the small hospital room, tension compressed like a held breath. No one mentions the no-talk clause. No one asks permission. They simply share a moment. My wife's father traces the baby's hand. The aunt holds the envelope, my wife's unwritten letter, careful not to open it. The uncle edges near the crib, eyes brimming. After a long, silent minute, the aunt says, voice soft, "We want this to be a happy day. Please, help us care for her." My wife's father nods. Eyes moist, he replies, "We will." When they step out into midday sunlight, each person carries something invisible. The aunt and uncle, legal parents now, faces etched with tentative hope, they are smiling, but eyelashes glisten. My wife, heart aching. She'd wanted to fight. Instead, with grace, she chose family. Her father, aged yet resolute, he says softly into the light, "We are here now. We'll stay here." They leave the hospital together. At the aunt and uncle's nearby apartment, preparations hum, soft blankets, a new mobile, framed ultrasound scans. My wife steps in to show how to swaddle, her father demonstrates pacing and humming to soothe. The baby sleeps wrapped in layers of gray and cream. In the evening, the aunt sits with a red journal titled "To You, One Day." She writes, "Today, you arrived into our arms and into our story. You are loved, by those who came before you, and by those who came to you after." My wife watches silently, heart full. She whispers to her father, "He's safe with them." He nods, head bowed. Sunlight spills across the nursery, dust motes dancing above the white crib. The baby, Emma, giggles at her grandfather's gentle sway, tiny fists patting at the plush stars on the mobile. Softwood tones, muted creams, it's a space meant for peaceful beginnings. Yet beneath the bubble of joy lies a tangle of unanswered questions. Her grandfather, posture stooped with his years and grief, smiles but can't fully reach his eyes. He whispers, almost to himself, "This is why I drew every bedtime story in my head." He sets down Emma with careful caution, each movement measured, precious. As Emma coos, he glances at the framed ultrasound on the dresser, her presence confirmed yet absent from genetic memory. A breath of bittersweet triumph. At breakfast, the aunt and uncle sit across from my wife, sharing silent glances. The uncle reaches over and places a small favorite childhood toy, Emma's cousin's adored wooden train, on the high-chair tray. Emma curiously hands it over, its wheels squeaking a memory that never belonged to her. The aunt takes a deep breath and begins softly. "We whispered her name to the train before you were born." Those words hang in the air, a bridge between the living and the lost. Emma's wide gaze flickers from toy to aunt as if comprehending a story too large for her understanding. They spend the day at a local park. Emma's first steps, wobbly, fearless, earn cheers from her new circle. My wife records it, phone camera in hand, tears pooling. The moment of triumph echoes the themes of Chapter 1, fractured families, hope in reconciliation. Emma's first word, "Mama," breaks quietly, an echo both full and empty. Aunt and uncle exchange glances. Is the word for them? For the cousin? Or for a girl unknowable to everyone? That night, under dim lamplight, my wife gathers courage. She sets her phone aside and speaks directly to aunt and uncle. Emma deserves to know the truth, when she's old enough. Not just the story of her birth, but the story of her mother, cousins, and the rift that shaped this. Silence follows. The aunt closes her eyes. The uncle lets his fingers trace the scarf the cousin once knitted for my wife. He nods slowly. We were afraid. Afraid she'd grow up with more secrets than stories. In that moment, a subtle shift happens, fear meets honesty, and a fragile trust begins. Later, My wife lies beside Emma, who sleeps in muffled comfort. She picks up a photograph of her cousin, a young laugh forever captured. She places it gently beside her own sonogram image in the frame. Her thoughts swell with questions. What will Emma ask when she's 7? 10? Will she demand the answers they're only just preparing to give? The chapter closes as Emma stirs in her sleep. Her tiny fist clasps the train toy. The camera catches the moment, tiny fingers gripping history, and draws in. A lullaby echoes softly. And so, in the hush between heartbeats, the question remains. Will Emma one day forgive the secrets she never chose? It's a crisp autumn morning in September 2030. Leaves, gold and scarlet, drift across the sidewalk as 8-year-old Emma steps off the school bus. Her backpack, blue with embroidered clouds, bounces as she walks. Her world is both ordinary and extraordinary. In the front yard of her aunt and uncle's house, her grandfather, now 69, waits. He kneels to help her zip up, eyes bright. Ready for soccer camp? He asks. Emma nods, tying her shoes carefully. She glances at the porch. A small, framed photo of her biological mother, the cousin, sits beside framed family portraits. This seamless morning feels comfortable, even warm. But beneath it, unspoken layers of history pulse. That evening, the family gathers around the kitchen table. Homemade soup simmers on the stove. Emma's aunts pour water in rainbow cups as she recounts her day. I scored a goal today. She beams. Then, almost hesitatingly, Grandpa, can you tell me more about my mom? The room goes quiet. The aunt and uncle exchange a knowing look. Emma continues, the lady in the photo, Cousin Lily, right? Her question lands with gentle gravity. Her grandfather sets down his spoon, meeting her gaze. Yes, sweetheart. Your mother was Lily, so full of dreams. She froze her eggs because she believed in legacy, just like love. Over the next hour, they tell her Lily's story, how she loved traveling, hated broccoli, sewed quilts, and saved her eggs so the future could begin, even if she couldn't be around to raise it. Each revelation is measured, loving, intentional. The aunt shares Lily's voice recordings, little messages to Emma they kept safe. The uncle shows Emma the scarf Lily knitted, the one her mother wore in every photo. Her grandfather adds bedtime stories he'd written down, mix of fantasy and lullaby, recorded on an old cassette. Emma listens, eyes wide but calm, her questions few, her heart evidently anchored. Later that night, Emma lies in her bed under pale stars, cradling her mother's scarf. Her father, grandfather, sits beside her, reading a story he recorded in his voice. You are stitched from many threads, Emma, he whispers while hugging her. She closes her eyes, grip on the scarf gentle. I feel loved, she murmurs. He kisses her forehead. Always, he says. There is truth here, a family reborn, not just by birth, but through recognition and respect. Days after that, Emma's aunt pins a new photo of Emma onto the family memory wall, a collection of moments and memories. Beneath Emma's picture, they add a caption. Emma Lily, born August 28, 2025, daughter of love and memory. Standing back, the family lets the light fall on it. It's a map of hearts, past entwined with present. That same week, a brown envelope arrives at their mailbox, no return address. Inside, a letter unfolds on crisp stationery. Dear Emma, I hope one day you will read this when you are ready. I'm your donor, someone who chose to give to you a piece of Lily's heritage. I can't be there in person, but I'm part of your story. The chapter closes on Emma folding the letter, looking up at her aunt, uncle, and grandfather. They watch her carefully. A new layer in her identity has landed, someone outside the family, asking to connect. Silence hangs as they await her response.